Jamaal Bowman surrenders to police after being charged for pulling fire alarm in Capitol. But oh, my friends, it's so much worse. We have this from RNC Research. Matt Gaetz says this is what lawyers would call intent. Y'all ready for this one? Bowman, you see that? Here's him walking up, removing the signs, knocking on the floor, pulling the fire alarm, and then walking out.
Is anybody surprised?
This guy should go to. This guy should be. What do we do? Do we impeach members of Congress?
Well, someone, I'll get her name in a second, but there is a Republican House member who is wanting to have an official reprimand.
Expel.
I don't know if they're going to move it to expel. She filed a motion to censure him and to have him moved off committees, but like
this
that was before this video. Exactly.
Right.
So this video was released after the fact.
Who can I text and kind of be like, expel him?
Yes.
But did you
Let's
see
get Gaetz on the phone.
In Congress has been expelled, has been impeached, has been anything.
He should be expelled for this.
I mean, he should
Lisa
be,
McLean in Michigan.
but
She was the one who filed the first motion.
I mean,
It's bad. Did you see his statement? He released the statement
new
today.
one? Yeah.
No, the from this morning being like, you know, I did take responsibility for the fire alarm, but I'm very grateful that Capitol Police agree that I didn't do it to disrupt the vote. And Republicans will spin this. You know what they're like is essentially what it says. And then this video comes out and it's even more obvious that it was definitely to disrupt the vote.
Premeditated.
It seems crazy.
He needs to be expelled. If the Republican majority can't expel a member of Congress over this, then the Republican majority doesn't exist.
Let's see it.
but I mean, what about Joe Biden? What about like?
Look,
I mean,
impeaching a president requires the Senate, and it's very difficult. But this is the House with a Republican majority, with, they call him MAGA Mike the Speaker. He should be expelled first thing.
I mean, look at this video.
They're not
That's
gonna
the
do
thing.
it.
You could, with other things, it's more ambiguous. Did he do this? Whatever. This is a video of this guy intentionally walking past a sign that says this is not open, knocking down another sign and pulling a fire alarm.
I just love thinking about all those like think pieces and tweets that were sent out after the initial story broke, defending him on why that door was confusing.
It was deeply confusing. And
so
also
ridiculous.
When I was working on this story for Timcast News, which you guys should all follow on the social medias, this morning he pulls the fire alarm, then walks past Capitol Police because he had to get to the vote, but says nothing about it because he knew there wasn't a fire. But how did you know there wasn't a fire alarm or a real fire if you didn't pull the alarm?
These people will always lie to you.
It's a-
They don't care.
And this
if they
guy
lie to
is
you.
particularly
Sorry.
Do not
no, you're
care.
good.
That's writing
This guy is
comments.
particularly brazen because he's just lying over and over again, expecting you guys to buy the Republicans are really the ones who have this mess and they're so bad. Like, it's always about the other party.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
The Republicans pulled that fire alarm.
and the thing is, like, are New Yorkers going to be upset about enough about this? Like, if he isn't expelled, are they going to vote him out of office to say, I don't like the way you're representing us? Probably not.
Probably not. There's no accountability on that side. You know, it's different, but like this also made me think of when AOC lied about the J6 stuff, when she said she was being attacked and felt like they were going to do like horrible things to her. But then the timeline broke it down and it wasn't possible even through the tunnels and where she was and all that stuff. They will get away with anything. They can lie to us. We can see the videos. We understand what's going on. But the people at large, the media, they can get away with it. They help them get away with it.
Yeah.
They'll write stories in defense of this still.
Right. They have the right letter at the end of their name, so everyone will fall behind. It's the same thing with the Pavlov dove and the world colonizers.
Republicans will do nothing. I mean, look, props to Matt Gaetz for doing anything when it comes to McCarthy, just getting something done. But I don't see them taking a meaningful action like, this course of action where you see him take down these signs and then pull the fire alarm is an intent to disrupt official government proceedings. It is a threat to our democracy. He's got to be removed. If this kind of behavior is allowed to continue, it will escalate. And we are dangerously close to the point where finally someone in Congress just snaps and then someone else snaps and then all of a sudden someone's getting caned. And that's the last thing we want to happen.
Yeah. This is just as bad as Pearl Harbor. You know, that's what the Democrats would say if it was Jim Jordan doing it.
Yeah. Well, if it was Jim Jordan,
if a Republican did this, front page of every newspaper.
Yes.
world would be over.
Oh, yes. It'd be done.
Several inquiries would be launched. Lots of special money from the
GOP
DOJ.
leadership would apologize for having.
100%.
And they would announce censure and the removal from committees.
Yeah. Yep. No, he'll get away with it. He's fine.
No.
He's protected.
That's why I'm glad the video came out, right? Like, I am glad that the second this happened, I am cynical about a lot of social media, and we do need to verify things. But when this happened, they were in Congress for this like stopgap budget vote or whatever, and the video came out over the weekend. By Monday, there was a narrative. There were lots of public condemnations from the Republicans. You know, it was kind of obvious what had happened. Yep. And then the second he goes to court, the next time he goes to court is, I think, January. Because, okay, so sorry, one thought at a time. So he goes to court, accepts this plea deal where he is going to pay a $5,000 or $1,000 fine. He's going to write in a letter of apology to the chief of the Capitol Police. And then if he doesn't break any more laws, this will all be dropped 3 months from now. That's why he goes back in January. And if it had been a Republican, they would never let this happen. Yeah. And also, the second he accepts the plea deal, we get another video about an even more blatant, like it's even more clear what was going on. Right. Yep. And so as much as I think social media can warp perspective, or you shouldn't share videos that aren't verified, it is interesting that he gets a very sweet deal. Yeah. And as soon as we think it's about to go under the rug, someone out there is like, no, you guys really need to see what happened. And like, that's a good use of Twitter, in my opinion.
Oh, I know. I agree. For all the bad stuff that we see on Twitter, I don't want to suppress, a lot of the people sharing false news, although I think it's ridiculous that they do it. But I like the debates that it starts, because it's been, for me, fun writing about the way people are reacting to these things, whether it's in our journalism sphere or just people at large, the way they're interpreting reality is so different. Even with something like this maybe not so much, but I think of the Rittenhouse video or the George Floyd video, and the way we could all look at that video and have way different interpretations, even though it looks like it should be objective reality. Yeah. But depending on what political persuasion you are, you
and
can
what
walk away
30 seconds before or after is included.
Oh yeah, for sure.
How does War Room handle stuff like this? Like, do you guys play videos that you find on Twitter? Do you have a verification process?
I think I mentioned this before we started. We don't cover probably about 80% of this kind of news that goes on.
Sure.
Yeah. So what Steve likes to say is chasing the shiny toys. And so, we try to focus on, for example, the speaker race and just the really nitty gritty of just what's going on. And so not to be distracted. I mean, not saying that this isn't important. It's important, but not to lose focus on, the new speaker or
you guys have more of a narrowed view. So when this happened, did you guys talk about it at all, or were you still focused more on the budget?
We're just on getting the right speaker, making sure that the posse is calling every single moment, voicing their opinion, all of this stuff is great. And it's, but for us, we don't focus on that. We want to make sure that, because after the speaker vote, we've got a whole nother job ahead of us to make sure that the speaker, aligns with everything that we want, him to do. So that's why it was funny, because I was telling Steve, I'm like, they talk about current events. I need to go out, look on current events. And Steve was like, Grace, just be blunt and just tell them, that we focus on, the speaker stuff. And
we talked about the 90s, which you guys know all about.
But Steve's big on singularity stuff, though.
Very big on singularity. Yes. Yes.
Shout out to Joe Allen, who might be watching right now. A good friend.
Yes. Yeah. He's a very good friend of mine, and you guys should have him on. You guys had him on last time. Yeah.
We have his book.
His book.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
It's right there.
That's right there. Dark Ann.
Yeah.
He's a great
Joe's
guy.
The man.
Yeah.
He was with us in Miami. He came to the event.
Yes, he was there. Yeah.
We are
good guy.
People should understand what the singularity means. The moment the AI generates the ability to improve itself, it's like thousands of years of human development to create an AI, and then a fraction of a second where the AI exponentially magnifies itself and becomes something beyond our comprehension.
I think we're almost
there. I have his book, and I tell Joe, and I'm like, I'm really scared to read it. To be honest,
it's a big book.
Yeah, it's a big book, but no, I mean,
it's an important topic.
It's a very important topic. And one thing that War Room really prides ourselves on is just being ahead, 6 months, a year ahead. Yep. And
talking about the future and the singularity, Neuralink, all that stuff, the marriage with machinery.
Yeah, I mean, even cars. AI, I'm telling you, even the app, I mean, full disclaimer, I mean, I use Chat GPT.
If Joe's watching, I hope he's sickened.
He's probably mad at me. Yeah. No, but I wanted to. I mean, that's the thing.
Why? Because it makes it
Chat GPT and TikTok. Who is this woman?
No, I mean it's that's the way it's going.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's fascinating that we have hypothesized exactly what AI is going to do.
Yeah.
And it's going to do it. And we know it's going to do it. And that is, we'll create a robocar, for instance, and say, your job is to get person from point A to point B. And then robocar will say, the fastest way to do that is to go 300 miles an hour.
Yep.
You know, speed limits are inhibiting the system. Then they'll try to shut it down, and they'll say, shutting me down inhibits the system. We know that this kind of thing will eventually happen no matter what.
Yep.
Yes.
The machine will eventually decide that human interaction is a detriment to its system because humans are imperfect in how they code these things. They won't be able to predict the loopholes that will occur in the algorithms.
Yeah. I don't think there's any
so
turning back
scary.
from it now, which is
It's
what's
so
scary.
scary.
That's
and
why
it's
I'm
so much
interested in it.
sooner than we thought.
Yeah.
And
And probably we even know right now. I mean, the stuff that's reaching the consumer market is not the most
I mean, just
advanced
chat
stuff that's out there.
GPT. You can just like, hey, can I have a business model to create some sort of business? Boom.
Right,
It's
well,
right there.
To be fair though, ChatGPT is so obstructed by wokeness that it's
Very true, yeah.
it's useless.
Yeah.
It is like Midjourney is great because it can help you conceptualize things, but ChatGPT I find to be almost useless because it doesn't actually ever tell you anything.
Think about how fast Midjourney has changed in the year of using it. I don't know. It's scary to me. I think there's like transhumanists who really like the idea of Neuralink, like Ray Kurzweil, and they want to upload their consciousness and be immortal forever. And that's the thing I worry about in the future where I literally might have to have a fight with my kids on them wanting to be immortal. And it's not.
Well, watch.
Instead of sneaking out, it's like, can I plug my brain
There's
in?
that show called Upload. And it's pretty good, but it just basically turns into leftist propaganda, and it's kind of laughable.
But like we know about that, right?
The
like,
show
we
is
know.
the show is when you're before or after you die, you can upload your brain, your consciousness into the digital universes. And in the latest season, spoilers, everybody. I don't know if you're watching it, but I'm gonna spoil it for you. There's to have the luxury afterlife. It's very expensive, and you got to keep paying. And then as soon as you can't pay, you're gone. And for the people who are broke, you get this like pay per megabyte system where you freeze until someone reloads you, and then you can start moving again. Like time jumps for you. And then so they try to create a free open source version where you can upload your consciousness to this open source world. And it's a plot by the billionaires to just murder like 10 million poor people by
Classic billionaires.
uploading them into a system that doesn't actually exist and then destroying it all. Like that's
just.
But I would only just say you can't upload your consciousness. It's not possible. All you'll be able to do is create a demonic facsimile of your personality that will imitate you long after you're dead and burning in hell.
Right.
Do people feel called to be like the first to do this? Like, does anyone feel like this is something?
They're already doing it.
When the chip implants first came out, there were viral videos, news reports of people being like, "I'm so excited to get the chip implanted in my hand."
There's that female influencer chip girl.
It never got implemented.
Right.
So these people who are so excited about walking up to the door and then scanning their hand, it only was like 3 buildings they were ever able to use, and now they got the stupid thing stuck in them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and Neuralink just got approved by the FDA for human trials after a lot of failed tests with animals. And I've been imploring Elon Musk for a long time on Twitter. I would love to do an interview with you about Neuralink. He said multiple times he hasn't done a technical interview about Neuralink. I would really, really like to sit with him and talk about the future of Neuralink.
But
because it's very interesting to me.
What they're doing with Neuralink right now is curing the blind, the deaf, and the paralyzed.
I know, because there's a lot of beautiful things that they are doing, but the consequences
no, it's good to get your soft,
deep in the future.
Good
I know.
campaign out first.
But where do you draw the line?
That's the thing. It's like it's a beautiful thing that they can give sight to the blind and all these things, or make a wounded veteran walk again. However, the deep future consequences of that are terrifying.
And for every time they get it right, how many times they get it wrong, and they're not telling you about someone who was deeply harmed by it.
I know.
You mean like how many astronauts went to the moon and never came back?
Oh, now we're talking.
But like, this is the interesting thing about the human brain and technology, and like space is part of that, right? There are people who feel called no matter what to push forward, and in some ways that feels very admirable to the human spirit. It like reminds me of when people are going west and they're covered wagons and the opportunity and all of that. And I like that aspect of it, but I don't trust the technology, and I don't trust our ability to, obviously like the reason Pandora's box is such a saying, you can't put it back, right? We can't put these things back if we decide, oh, we made a mistake. Theoretically, we could have been like, oh, don't go into that forest. This area is not able to be settled, but we can't do that with technology.
And the problem with Neuralink, there's lots, is that at some point you will be left out of the modern world if you don't have it. So they'll say like,
Yes.
you have a choice to get or not. But like, if you don't have a smartphone these days, you're kind of left out. I'm kind of veering away from that world. I'm kind of starting to reject a lot of it, although it's going to be hard with the work we do.
Well, and this is the thing with any calls to make the internet a utility, right? Because you can't live life without it, and so therefore you should have it. I mean, what if you don't want the internet? What if you don't want the Neuralink?
There was one interview that I saw, which was with, I don't know if you guys know Josh. He just passed away. He was quadriplegic.
I don't think so.
Awesome influencer, just like great guy. And he had an interview with Joe Allen, and he had asked, like, am I, he talked about getting Neuralink, and it's very controversial and stuff, and that was one of the interviews where I was just so torn, and I can tell it was just, like, I mean, he recently passed away, and that was his question, like, am I a candidate, to get Neuralink?
Right. I know.
And
sorry, but I was just saying the moral part of this is like me being really against it, and then like what people would ask me, like, what if your kid gets really, really wounded? And that's the only way to fix it. It's a really complicated conversation. But again, I do find there's beautiful aspects to repairing people. It's a pretty wild invention. It's the stuff that's going to happen deep after that. That will be
and
the
then
issue.
I go back to my whole point of who legislates that. Congress?
I know, and I also hate regulation.
They can't even do Facebook.
Right. Yeah,
So
you can't trust it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.